Every few years, there's a camera that comes out that completely changes the way we make and we think about filmmaking. 40 or 50 years ago, we would have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to get the cameras that we now have for a fraction of the cost. I recently took a trip out to NAB and I was completely blown away by one product, and that was the Ursa 12K Cine camera. Today, I'm going to break down all the specs and talk to you guys about why I think this camera is a game changer and, frankly, a new leap into the future of filmmaking. So I recently took a trip out to Las Vegas to attend NAB 2024, and I got the chance to speak with some of the representatives from Blackmagic, and I was lucky enough to be introduced to a camera that I believe not only solves a lot of issues for cinematographers, but entire production companies. As you guys know, I'm a huge fan of Blackmagic, and I actually own the original 12K that they came out with. And the first big difference that I noticed between the original 12K and this camera was the fact that they added a full frame sensor. And what this means is a few things. You obviously have the ability to use full frame lenses and take full advantage of what that has to offer, but the other two really important factors is the better low light performance and the higher dynamic range. Now, I'm not gonna go into way too much detail about the science behind this and how this is possible, but this camera has a dynamic range of 16 stops, which competes with some of the best cinema cameras on the market. In terms of resolution, this camera can shoot 4K, 8K, 9K, and 12K resolution. The funny thing is that when I talk to people about this camera, the first thing that they bring up is that the fact that 12K is overkill. Now, while I can kind of agree with that, and I can definitely get behind the fact that I would never shoot things in 12K, especially documentaries or some of the short films that I work on. However, what's extremely powerful about this camera is the color science and the size of the sensor and how well it performs in the other resolutions. The other incredible feature that this camera has is the ability to shoot high frame rates. This camera can shoot up to 224 frames per second at 8K resolution. But now that we've covered the sensor, the frame rates, and the resolution, I now want to talk to you guys about how they've evolved this cinema camera to benefit not only a cinematographer, but your entire production team. This camera has the ability to send footage directly into DaVinci Resolve. And this is extremely exciting because while you're still in production, and maybe let's just say you just finished your shoot, or maybe even you're taking a break in the middle of your shoot, you could actually start uploading footage directly to DaVinci Resolve. Now, I don't know how well this system works. I don't know how fast the upload is. I don't know anything. I'm just taking in what they're telling me and what they're saying that this camera can do. But if they could actually do that, and you could actually do that effectively, that's pretty incredible, man. Especially when you're talking about a high resolution cinema camera that you could send proxy files to so your editor can start editing right away. That saves so much time because instead of getting home and uploading the footage and sending it out to the editor, boom, you could start a DaVinci project right away and get the ball rolling on an edit before you even get home. If I could implement that into my workflow and integrate that into my team's workflow, that's just gonna save us so much time. The other thing that I thought that was really awesome that they added to this camera was 8 terabytes of built-in internal SSD slots. What is this like? How much storage can you have on this?
Right, so that's an 8 terabyte module.
8 terabytes?
And there's a 16 terabyte module coming.
This is the first time I've ever seen any camera do something like this. I've never seen a camera manufacturer have built-in media storage into their camera, and the fact that Blackmagic developed this media storage means that you don't have to worry about, getting the right media storage to shoot the right frame rates or handle the resolutions that this camera needs. You actually have that already built in. And instead of having to go out and buy an SD card or do your research on the best SSD that you could possibly buy to add to this camera, you buy the camera and it comes with it. Now let's quickly talk about the body of the camera and talk about some of the improvements that they made from the original 12K. The first thing that I noticed was the flip screen can actually flip all the way around. On the original 12K, you could only go like halfway and you couldn't flip it around so I could see the view of what I was looking at if I was like on camera or if I wanted to quickly show somebody that was in front of camera what it looked like. Not only that, but the overall screen size is bigger. And then the other really cool thing that they did was the ability to set your in and out markers for focus, which is an extremely important tool. The other thing that I noticed that was pretty cool that the original Ursa 12K didn't have was a 3:1 compression rate, which the 3:1 compression rate just means that it's compressing a lot less, which means that you're going to get a larger file. But overall, it's just going to look better and have more dynamic range when you go to color it. Now, the big question that I think everyone has to ask is, who is this camera for, and is this camera for you? Blackmagic, when they were describing this camera to me, they told me that they spared no expense. This is their leap into the higher end cinema camera market, but the price tag for this camera is actually only $15,000, which makes it significantly cheaper than cameras like the Sony Burano or even some Red cameras. I personally think that this camera is for mid to high level cinematographers working on, high-end documentaries or indie budget films. And I personally think that this camera, with all the new features that they added, is really a leap into the future of filmmaking, because I think that it's not only affordable and obtainable to get for cinematographers of all ranges, but the fact that you could shoot all these different resolutions, these frame rates, use full frame cinema lenses on this camera is pretty incredible. And the fact that they did it all under $20,000 is a tough camera to beat. Personally, I think this is an incredibly exciting camera, but that's just my opinion. Drop some comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. And I want to thank you guys so much for stopping in and hanging out, talking about this really awesome camera with me. And I'll see you guys next week.